Morning, Westridge. Welcome. Whether you're online or here in the house, we're so glad to see you this morning. Would you stand with us? There's some gifts that I think the Lord wants to pour out on us this morning, so let's worship.
There's honey in the rock, water in the stone, manna on the ground, no matter where I go. I don't need to worry now that I know everything I need you got. There's honey in the rock. Praying for a miracle, thirsty for the living land. Only you can satisfy. Sweetness at the mercy seat. Now I'm tasting. It's not hard to see. Only you can satisfy. There's honey in the rock. 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 Freedom, the Spirit is bounty in the wilderness. You will always satisfy. There's honey in the rock, water in the stone, manna on the ground, no matter where I go. I don't need to worry now that I know everything I need. Worry now that I know everything I need you got. There's honey in the rock, purpose in your plan, power in the blood, healing in your hands. Started flowing when you said it is done. Everything you did is enough. I keep looking, I keep finding. You keep giving, keep providing. I have all that I need. You are all that I need. I keep praying, you keep moving. I keep praising, you keep proving. You have all that I need. You are all that I need. I keep looking, I keep finding. You keep giving, keep providing. I have all that I need. You are all that I need. I keep praying, you keep moving. I keep praising, you keep proving. I have all that I need. You are all that I need. I have all that I need. You are all that I need. Yeah. There's honey in the rock, water in the stone, manna on the ground, no matter where I go. I don't need to worry now that I know everything I need you got. There's honey in the rock, purpose in your plan, power in the blood, healing in your hands. Started flowing when you said it is done. Jesus, who you are is enough. There's honey in the rock. 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 Oh, how sweet it is to trust in you, Jesus. Oh, how sweet it is to trust in you, Jesus. Oh, how sweet it is to trust in you, Jesus.
Amen.
Welcome. Good to see you on this Sunday morning. I think this is going to fall the whole time, so I may just have a, oh, wait, no. Yeah, it's not going to happen. I had it like perfect, and then I moved, and it came off. All right, I've got a lot of announcements. Welcome, everyone on live stream. Great to see you. Thanks for being here. And if this is your first time, we've got a card right on the back of the chair in front of you. If you're in the front row, sorry. Reach back behind. And if you're online, you can visit our website or the app and fill out a quick Connect card. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for being here. Okay, I'm going to try to get through these really fast. Okay, there's kind of a lot, so let's roll. Take 2. Hey, the signups are still right out there. And I'm just going to say, next Sunday alone, nursery needs 6 people, okay? 6 people next Sunday. And kids church, Westridge Kids, needs 5 adults and 7 teens. Okay, that's just next week alone. Don't be intimidated. All the materials will be provided, and you'll be blessed, I promise. That's next week. Let's do it. Sign-up's right out there. And I think you can do so on the app as well. Yes, okay. Everything checks over here. Okay, next is Family Promise is coming right up. And, we've got like 4th of July plans in mind. They're going to actually be here during the 4th of July. That's cool. And so right now we still need volunteers. And you're going to kind of hear this repeated volunteer frame. It's going to kind of go on and go on. But these are great opportunities. You can be a driver. You can drive a big van, a big white van. You can do it. If you've got a driver's license, you can do it. And we've got dinners, a couple of dinners left, and a few overnights. Overnights, super fun. Make it a family sleepover. It's a blast. It's good stuff. Really fun. All right, next one. Summer, we got youth group happening. This is the first meeting during summer. That's really cool. Yeah. I was going to sing a song, but I'm not going to. Just out of saving time and saving everyone else. Okay. That's 4 to 5:30 today. So one of the things that when Westridge was going through the pandemic, we're kind of trying to think about how do we connect when we can't even be in the same building? How do we do that? And the geniuses who work here came up with this idea of hey, let's meet together first Friday during the summer, and we'll just have some bounce houses, have some good times. So that thing is happening this Friday. It's going to be from 6 to 8:30. Bounce houses. There's going to be bomb pops. I'm not a red-blooded American. I had to look up what a bomb pop was this morning. So if you know what a bomb pop is, congratulations. You have your citizenship. Good job. Sorry, I don't know. Okay. Bomb pops and bounce houses. I think wet ones, water and stuff. It was a lot of fun last month. Please come out. It's just a great time. All right. So right now we're kind of doing the men's and women's programming for the summer. Ladies got the book clubs going. Those are going well. And the men's training groups, that's going to start the Wednesdays in July at 7 p.m. And this summer, men, we're going to be investigating feelings. So anger, anxiety, competitiveness. I got this, cage fights maybe, mountain conquering, the sort of things that men do. Or if you're like me, I'm not the manliest man. I've turned in my man card a time or two. Hey, I put diesel gas in my car one time on accident, okay? So I will just say, if you happen to be like me, there's also going to be board games, okay? That's okay. Just so you know. All right. All right, last one, I promise. Dave is looking for volunteers to paint and landscape for a transition house that we're trying to help families who are in Family Promise kind of make the next step. And so there's going to be some preparation for this home, and we're just looking for Saturdays in July, men and women to come, maybe scrape some paint, do some landscaping, that sort of a thing. So that's it, I promise. And we're going to connect all of that to this one idea. So Dave's going through the Rewards in Heaven series right now, and it's really great to kind of start thinking along those lines. And, I'm reminding of Jesus' exhortation to us in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 6, where he's saying, store up treasures in heaven. And sometimes you say, well, how do I store up treasures in heaven? Kind of the only thing that's going to heaven is people. And so how can we store up, gift, love, for other people, store up things in heaven? And rather than being kind of completely fixated on immediately kind of what's in front of us, just right here. So I'm going to pray, and then we're going to kind of start just turning our minds and our hearts back to that which is above and not completely unearthly things. So let's pray. God, thanks for a great moment. We get to worship collectively. What a gift to sing to you and to just make your name great, to set our hearts in a different place, to focus for a few moments even, rather than on the things right in front of us that are just taking over, causing these feelings of anxiety and worry. But you've asked us to not worry. And part of that lack of worry comes from a focus on you, your reality, the kingdom of heaven right here, right now. Jesus, begin shifting our minds. Set our focus on you, on your reality, rather than what's immediately in front of us. We pray, in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Let's stand together. This is a song that I believe God wanted us to sing right after Vince just spoke of Jesus' exhortation there on the mountain. And so we talk about willingness. I just want to challenge you right now as you sing these words, ask God to help you see what you need to be willing to do to serve and love those around you this morning.
Here is where I lay it down, every burden, every crown. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay it down, every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to, and I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Where I lay it down, every burden, every crown. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay it down, every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Oh, and I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Shake up the ground of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion. Your way is better, your way is better. Shake up the ground of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion. Your way is better, your way is better. Shake up the ground of all my tradition, break down do whatever you want to, and I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to, Jesus.
Move in us.
Here is where I lay it down. You are all I'm chasing now. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay it down. You are all I'm chasing now. This is my surrender. This is my surrender.
Father, we don't want to hurry away from your spirit right now. So just let us sit here in you, rest in you, find peace in you, truth in you. Cause you're worthy of every song we could ever sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. And we live for you. And Jesus, the name above every other name. You know it, sing it out to him. Yes, Jesus, the only one who could ever save. So worthy, worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. And we live for you. Oh, we live for you. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Yes, Lord, just show us, Father. Show us who. You're worthy of every song we could ever sing. Worthy of all the praise we could ever bring. So worthy, Lord. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. And we live for you, King Jesus. Jesus, the name above every other name. Jesus, the only one who could ever save. Pour out your praise to him. Worthy of every breath we could ever breathe. And we live for you. Oh, we live for you. Yes, you're holy. There is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder and show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around. So holy, Lord, holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes in wonder. Lord, show me who you are, and fill me with your heart and lead me in your love to those around me. Lead me to the lost, Lord, the hurting, the broken, Father. Just show me right now. As we long for this, I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. I lay everything else. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation, and I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Holy, there is no one like you. There is none beside you. Open up my eyes, Lord, show me who you are, and fill me with your heart, and lead me in your love to those I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put all of my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. I will build my life upon your love. It is a firm foundation. I will put my trust in you alone, and I will not be shaken. Let's have a seat. I want you just to stay with him right now. I think he's asking for even more than you've given him, than you've laid in front of him. I know he's asking more of me. So all to Jesus I surrender, all to him I freely give. I will ever love and trust him in his presence daily Oh, all to Jesus I surrender, humbly at his feet I bow. Worldly pleasures, all they're all forsaken. Take me, Jesus, take me now. Oh, I surrender all. Oh, I surrender all. Yes, all to be my blessed Savior. I surrender all. Lord, I surrender all. Oh, all to Jesus I surrender, Lord. I give myself to thee. Oh, fill me with thy love and power. Let thy blessing fall on me. all down, everything. Oh, I surrender all my shame. Oh, I surrender all my pride, Lord. All to Thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all. Yes. Let us turn to the joy of our salvation this morning, Father. There is hope in You. Just pour out your love for Him. And know the joy of full salvation, sin and death defeated, glory to His name. And oh, the joy of full salvation, sin and death defeated, glory to His name. Oh, the joy, yeah. And oh, the joy of full salvation, sin and death defeated, glory to His name. Oh, glory, Lord. And I surrender all. Oh, I surrender all. And all to Thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all. Oh, I surrender all. Yes, I surrender all. All to Thee, my blessed Savior, I surrender all. Father, I just confess that so many moments this week I was walking on my own strength. I surrender that to You now. And I pray, Father, that You would draw each one of us through the words You've given Dave, through the words You've given us in Your word, Lord, by the Spirit's leading each one of us to a new place of willingness to surrender this world as it is. It's not as You would have it, Father. It's not what You intended. I pray, Lord, we would just lay our brokenness down and trust that You long to lead us in love to others, that there will be a sweet reward because You're worthy, Father, of our praise. In Your name we pray. Amen.
Last week, we studied 4 post-mortem experiences that are in store for everyone who is a follower of Jesus. And so, think about those for just a minute. 4 milestones that occur after a Christ follower dies. And so for the next few minutes, we're going to work on a competition and review to see if you can name those 4 experiences. Now, you will have to raise your hand and be recognized by myself, then give the answer. If the answer is correct, I'm going to send you a delicious prize package, and I'm going to send it airmail, FedEx Air, right? Items may have shifted in flight, and you'll get that later. This is called Dulce de Leche. delicious Lindor chocolates. You know what dulce de leche is? It's condensed milk sweetened with sugar, heated up until that mixture is caramelized. Then they place it inside one of these delicious chocolate spheres. And so this is worth jogging your memory over. I encourage you to consider it. For post-mortem, after death, experiences for everyone who is a Christ follower. And Tyson is going to be recording those so that we have them to refer back to later. And so here's a hint. They all start with R. They all start with R. So who would say, I know one of those? I would say, okay, Brian? Rest. Rest from our striving, rest from our earning, rest from all that we attempt to do to prove ourselves and compete with others. Very good. Rest. Go ahead. Resurrection. Someone has notes in their Bible. I saw a downward glance. Yes, you are definitely the poster child. Wonderful. Oh, you know what? I'm forgetting to airmail. I've got assorted, I've got caramel, and dulce de leche. Brian, you choose first. Assorted coming your way. Oh, and I've still got assorted dulce de leche and caramel. Coming at you. Good grab, bro. Okay, who has another one? You see, this is a very prosperous experience. Anyone say, I remember one of those? Because, Tyson and I are just going to take them and eat them if someone else. David. Rain. Rain is number 4. I've got caramel and assorted. Coming your way. Oops, that's a low throw. Sorry about that. Last one. Pat. Receive your reward. Long distance. Oh, gosh. That last one was really bad. Okay, now we've got our entire board kind of filled out here. That was embarrassing. We're going to take those 4 R's and we're going to do a perspective on what the biblical authors thought about these 4 items. We're going to go through each of their writings. Not each biblical author, but we're going to begin with Isaiah 26. Isaiah lived somewhere around 700 years before the birth of Jesus. Tyson's going to check every element that we see in these passages. So Isaiah writes this: "But your dead will live, Lord. Their bodies will rise. Let those who dwell in the dust wake up and shout for joy. Your dew is like the dew of the morning. The earth will give birth to her dead." And so you can see elements. There's some elements of rest there, the element of resting and then waking. It's a close connection. And so walking in rest, they'll shout for joy. There's definitely resurrection, right? The earth is giving up its dead. So again, written 700 years before Jesus was born. Moving on, this is Daniel chapter 12. Daniel lived maybe 580 years, something like that, before Jesus was born. And Daniel wrote, "Multitudes who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake. Some to everlasting life, others to shame and everlasting contempt. Those who are wise will shine like the brightest of the heavens, and those who lead many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever." So again, we see this idea or this connection of sleep closely associated with rest. I think we can call it rest. And then the idea of resurrection, waking up or rising. The reward is reflected in rising to shine like the brightest heavens or rising to everlasting contempt. We don't like that. Pressing on, now we're going to move to the teachings of Jesus from the book of John, chapter 5. Jesus says, "Very truly I tell you, whoever hears my word and believes him who sent me has eternal life and will not be judged, but has crossed over from death to life. Very truly, I tell you, a time is coming and has now come when the dead will hear the voice of the Son of God, and those who hear will live. For as the Father has life in himself, so he has granted the Son also to have life in himself. And he has given him authority to judge, because he is the Son of Man. Do not be amazed at this, for a time is coming when all who are in their graves will hear his voice and come out. Those who have done what is good will rise to live, and those who have done what is evil will rise to be condemned." John chapter 5. So think I'm definitely a lot here. We see the idea of resurrection. That's clearly there. The idea of judgment and reward, that's all woven in there too. Those who have done what is good, rising to live. Those who have done what is evil, rising to be condemned. The Apostle Peter, this is from Acts chapter 4, and it requires just a teeny bit of setup. After the resurrection of Jesus, Peter started preaching, and he started preaching around kind of in the temple precincts. He was speaking about resurrection from the dead for all people. He was in the temple courts, and the court officials arrest Peter. They arrest him just for preaching. He wasn't doing anything wrong, and they take him before the Supreme Court, which was the Sanhedrin at that time. So Peter is defending himself. He says, "My accusers did not find me arguing with anyone at the temple or stirring up a crowd in the synagogues or anywhere else in this city. And they cannot prove to you the charges they are now making against me. However, I admit that I worship the God of our ancestors as a follower of the way, which they call a sect. I believe," this is interesting, "I believe everything that is in accordance with the law." That was the law of Moses. "In accordance with the law, and that is written in the prophets. And I have the same hope in God as these men themselves have, that there will be a resurrection of both the righteous and the wicked. So I strive always to keep my conscience clear before God and man." So Peter knew there was going to be this resurrection of both the righteous and the wicked. Resurrection, but also reward. Because evidently Peter thought that keeping a clear conscience before God and man would affect, or it would change the nature, the quality of his resurrection life. That's why he worked so hard to keep this clear conscience, almost like the quality or the Christ-likeness of the individual will determine the kind of resurrection you experience. Moving on to the Apostle Paul. He's writing to slaves, specifically slaves at the church in Colossae. Let's really consider this because I find it amazing. Paul tells the slaves, "Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as if working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. Anyone who does wrong will be repaid for their wrongs, and there is no favoritism." So obviously slaves weren't going to receive a reward from their masters. The inheritance was saved for that master's sons, his heirs. Now notice the inheritance, and it is there for working with all your heart as if working for the Lord. It's called a reward. That's a reward from the Lord. So keeping a clear conscience before God and man, that's a reward in Acts chapter 4. And here, working with all your heart as working for the Lord, that also brings a reward. Continuing. Okay, this is our final shot. I know you've been up for a long time. Doing awesome. The book of Revelation, written by John, chapter 20. Let's look at our checklist. We got 2 checks on rest, 4 on resurrection, 4 on reward. We don't have reign yet. "I saw thrones on which there were seated those who had been given authority to judge. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded because of their testimony about Jesus and because of the word of God. They had not worshipped the beast or its image, had not received its mark on their foreheads or their hands. They came to life and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. The rest did not come to life until the 1,000 years were ended. This is the first resurrection. Blessed and holy are those who share in the first resurrection. The second death has no power over them, but they will be priests of God and of Christ and will reign with him for 1,000 years." So John, looking deeply into the future, we definitely see resurrection and reward. We definitely see reign. These are the people that didn't have the mark of the beast on their forehead or on their hands. We see the reality of reigning with Christ. And my goal today was to show how deeply integrated these ideas are in the biblical story. These aren't just superfluous additions that somebody wrote into the text after the fact, trying to make following Jesus more profitable or worth it. These ideas, rest, resurrection, reward, and reign, are woven into the storyline from the very start, all the way back to Isaiah. They aren't small. They aren't insignificant or unmeaningful details. And I'm giving this talk because last week I had someone come up and they said, could these emphasis that you're talking about right here, could they possibly be true? Could this be true? All this emphasis you're placing on resurrection, rest, reward, reign, are they that important? And I think this is what the Bible is all about. So Tyson, thank you. Give Tyson a big round of applause and thanks. You did a good job. It's tough standing up here. I believe those 4 experiences culminate, they redeem the circle of biblical history. And I call it the circle of biblical history because if you look at it, the place where Genesis begins is the place where Revelation ends. And the place where Revelation ends is the beginning of a new Genesis, right? It is both the beginning and the end. I find it amazing and striking, amazing and powerful. Biblical circle, the circle of history. Jesus is the last Adam. Adam, of course, the first Adam. And the people who have put their faith in Jesus, they're resurrected to a new life on a renewed earth where they'll receive reward, where they will reign with Christ, which is the original plan, that people would rule with God as his representative. The Bible clearly tells us that kind of, in some ways, this is when garden life truly begins. Like this is the beginning of the story, not the end of the story. This is where life with God begins and the world can become what he always intended it to be from the very beginning. So I thought about that and was trying to find a way to emphasize it, and we came up with the check marks. I hope it was okay, and the candy. We had time for one more question from last week. The question was, how can Christians possibly believe that they're saved by grace through faith while at the same time believing that we are earning a reward from God? If grace and earning cannot coexist, if grace and earning can't exist at the same time in the same person, then why are we talking about earning so much? Doesn't God hate earning? Also known as self-righteousness? And wouldn't this create a huge conflict within the heart of God? And won't we be jealous if someone else earns more than we do? I thought those were great questions. And I think they're answered in Revelation chapter 20. It's a vision of the great judgment of God. John writes, "Then I saw a great white throne and him who was seated on it. The earth and the heavens fled from his presence, and there was no place for them. And I saw the dead, great and small, standing before the throne, and books were opened. Another book was opened, which is the book of life." And so you look at that and think, okay, this is the judgment seat of Christ. Do you guys know what that is? I know Matt does. The Bema. This is the Bema. And some of you listen to the Bema podcast. It's excellent. I think I suggest it. But the judgment seat, and we know that judgment, we know where it fits on our whiteboard, right? Somewhere in here, before we receive our reward, there is this judgment. The books are opened, and the books, as we read on, we'll see they record everything every person has done on the face of the earth, good or bad. Those books tell whether we've been good stewards of the world, we have been godly representatives of our Creator or not. And it says there's one other book, a different book, and that different book is the book of life. It's open. So continuing. The dead were judged according to what they had done as recorded in the books. The sea gave up its dead that were in it, and death and Hades gave up the dead that were in them. Each person was judged according to what they had done. So 2 judgments are going on. And the 2 judgments are coming out of 2 different sets of books. The first set of books, they record everything done by everybody on earth. And I don't know if those books are literal or if they represent a perfect memory of an omniscient God, but those books contain everything humans have done, whether it be good or bad. And everybody will be judged, everybody will be rewarded according to what they've done, good or bad. We've been reading about that judgment and this process for 2 weeks. So those kinds of rewards are earned, okay? You got to sweat for that kind of stuff. You got to fight some moral battles for that kind of stuff. You got to purify your heart, your motives. You got to keep your conscience clean, as Peter said, meaning even your intentions have to be right for those kinds of rewards. Those kinds of rewards just don't come easy. The second book that's opened is entirely different. This is the book of life, the book which records the names of those who won't be thrown into the lake of fire, which is the second death. You don't earn your spot into the second book, the book of life. You don't get your name in the book of life through serving the least of these, or fighting for justice, or sharing your faith, or your food, or your home, being the best mom, the best dad, the best small group leader. You don't get your name in the book of life this way. You get your name in the book of life by grace, through faith in Jesus, by reading about His life, His values, His teachings, and falling in love with the kind of world that would be produced if everybody followed Him. That's when you experience this grace, and you do it by making a personal commitment to seek Him, to imitate Him, to go after Him, to worship Him, to be conformed to His image. So you don't earn your place in the book of life. That happens by grace through faith in Jesus. So these two sets of books, two standards. One standard for entering the book of life by grace through faith. A second standard for what's written about you in the book that records all the things that we'll be rewarded for, good or bad. I think this is really important, because it has great implications for our afterlife. How will we reign with Christ in new creation? I'm trying to help with this question, the question of how we're saved by grace through faith, but at the same time earn rewards in the afterlife. Now we're going to close with one more reading. It applies to this same question. It shows how the two books work together. And this is a letter from the Apostle Paul. He's writing to a church in the ancient city of Corinth. And the church is fighting, it's breaking apart, splintering, and choosing sides over which pastor they're going to follow. Some are so faithful and devoted to Paul that, it's just crazy town for them. They have Paul bumper stickers on their donkey carts, Paul pennants and streamers and hoodies. They follow Paul. And after all, he was the one who planted the church. Others follow Apollos. He's a powerful, amazing Christian communicator. After Paul planted the church, Apollos helped it to grow. He really kind of put the church on the map. And the people who follow Apollos are just as rabid as the people who followed Paul. They have their little fan sites on Facebook. They carry signs to church that say, like and follow Apollos today. Apollos rocks. You see all that stuff. And Paul's sick of it. He's sick of this competition. He writes, what after all is Apollos? And what is Paul? Only servants through whom you came to believe, as the Lord assigned each to his task. I planted the seed. Apollos watered it. But God has been making it grow. So neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God who makes things grow. The one who plants and the one who waters have one purpose, and they will each be rewarded according to their own labor. For we're co-workers in God's service, and you are God's field, God's building. Okay, so we're starting to get closer to understanding how these two different kinds of books worked. Remember? Ready? Paul writes, by the grace God has given me, I laid a foundation as a wise builder, and someone else is building on it. But each one should build with care, for no one can lay a foundation other than the one already laid, which is Christ, Jesus Christ. If anyone builds on this foundation using gold, silver, costly stones, wood, hay, or straw, their work will be shown for what it is, because the day will bring it to light. It will be revealed with fire, and the fire will test the quality of each person's work. So remember, we're talking about these two different books, and Paul says it's obvious that some stuff Christians leaders build, it's obvious that some of that stuff burns, and some of the stuff doesn't. Stuff that burns is called flammable, right? And usually, flammable stuff is pretty temporary. Lots of times the cheap stuff burns, the wood, hay, and straw burns, but the gold, silver, and costly stones, that stuff doesn't burn. That stuff lasts. Fire doesn't destroy it. Incredibly valuable. So Paul's saying, Apollos and I don't need your fan clubs. We don't need your Facebook groups. We don't need your likes. We don't need your approval, because God is going to test the quality of each person's work. The quality of each person's work will be revealed by fire. Again, that's a word picture. The fire will differentiate between works that are flammable and temporary and works that are not flammable that remain. So where's that testing happen on our whiteboard? Somewhere right in here, because after your works are tested, there is a reward for the non-flammable building materials. Okay, focus back in as we conclude. If what has been built survives, the builder will receive a reward. If it is burned up, the builder will suffer loss, but yet will be saved, even though only as one escaping through the flames. So as we build on the foundation of Christ, maybe you build serving in your small group, in your workplace, in your family, through our witness, through our service to the least of these, through generosity, through sacrificial love, through acts of service and prayers and worship and teaching. As we serve with our family promise guests that are going to be coming a week from today, all that stuff we did for the Lord, all that stuff is written in the books. And when those building materials are tested by fire, if they survive, that servant receives their reward. But when the things we build with, when they're burnt up, when they're shown to be temporary, there is no reward for that person. They lose the opportunity for reward. Notice they will be saved. If their name is written in the book of life, they'll be saved by grace through faith. But it's going to be like someone who's saved through the flames, right? So they're saved, but they're saved through that refining, that testing process. It's why we're so careful with our conscience. Peter said, I know there will be a resurrection both for the wicked and the righteous. So I strive always to keep my conscience clear before God and man. Because Peter knew that if you do the right things, but for the wrong reasons, if you violate your conscience in the way that you do good, if you compromise your conscience in one area to do good in another area, you may be saved, but you might lose your reward in the process. As you serve our homeless guests this week, I challenge you, maintain this next week, maintain a clear conscience, serving just because we want to be like Jesus, our sole reason. I'm going to ask the worship team to come on up. But as they do, I want to mention it's the same with Paul's advice to the slaves. He told them, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. So instead of serving your master while being filled with resentment and just looking for the right time to stab him in the back, you serve as if you were serving the Lord himself, because it will produce a reward in your life. You'll receive an inheritance from him. And so I just want you to take a moment for self-examination. We all know about the overturning of Roe versus Wade, and I think most of us know about the upcoming vote on Value Them Both, the legislation for Kansas. And I just think how we handle these kinds of milestones is critical to whether we'll experience reward or not. The way we handle our attitudes toward those whose lives will be deeply affected by these rulings. I mean, whether we're perceived really as loving our neighbors as ourselves, maybe whether we're perceived as loving our enemies. And so I want to just put a date on your calendar if that interests you. July 10th, after second service, I'll be right here with Phil Jost, and Phil's going to be laying out some of the significant details of this legislation, answering questions, and I'll be speaking from a pastoral perspective as well on how we can go through these next 5 weeks in a deeply Christ-like, humble manner that would be worthy of reward in the kingdom of God. The meeting won't be long. We'll have a light lunch for you. We won't have childcare, but I want to invite you, because heaven forbid we would do all kinds of work that we perceive to be in God's kingdom and then find out that our attitude, our conscience disqualified us from any reward. So I'm going to pray, and then we'll finish up in worship today. Heavenly Father, we're blown away by how you planned this circle of your history. And we're blown away by the fact that we, as mere human beings who have failed you so many times, could actually experience your reward in the kingdom to come. And we long for that, not so much to make much of ourselves, but we long for it so that we would make much of you in the moment, so that we would serve in ways that create distinctions for you, that show your goodness, the goodness of your plan, the glory of your kingdom. So we look to you to guide our hearts with the power of your Spirit and pray that you'd help us in Jesus' name. Amen. Chuck, go ahead.
Let's go ahead and stand together. Let's proclaim this together this morning. We put our hope in Him and Him alone.
My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. When darkness seems to hide His face, I rest on His unchanging grace. Every high and stormy gale, my anchor holds within the veil. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. His oath, His covenant, His blood support me in the whelming flood. When all around my soul gives way, He then is all my hope and stay. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand.
All right. When He shall
come with trumpet sound, oh, may I then in Him be found. Rest in His righteousness alone, faultless to stand before the throne. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. On Christ the solid rock I stand, all other ground is sinking
So we're going to proclaim our hope in him right now. Oh, my hope is in you, Lord. Oh, my strength is in you. This is how we love those who need it. Yes, oh, my peace is in you. We're rooted in you, Lord. Oh, my life is in you. All your hope, yes. And oh, my hope is in you. All my strength in you. Oh, my strength is in you. It's our peace, Lord. Yes, oh, my peace is in you. We give it all to you. Oh, my life is in you. On Christ the solid rock I stand. All other ground it's sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. Sing it again. On Christ the solid rock I stand. All other ground it's sinking sand. All other ground is sinking sand. Amen. Have a great Sunday.